We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Tuesday. We're already into another week. The ongoing saga of the shit show. I mean, it just, no, no matter what day I wake up, it's all the same shit. It's like Groundhog's Day. Donald Trump puts a bunch of crazy shit on Truth Social. Then he comes out and does some stupid shit. And then people start attacking him. And it's the same shit every day. It's just new material. Sometimes it's new material. Fortunately, we have Jace with us tonight, or this morning, or whenever you're listening. It's being recorded on Monday night to air Tuesday. But Jace, welcome back. And you're down in Texas. We got plenty to talk about that's going down in Texas. And of course, the rest of the bullshit that we're dealing with.
Well, Mike, thanks for having me on. It's just, I really enjoy. I mean, it's like Eric says it, Will says it. I enjoy coming on here. I'm glad you give us a voice, and it keeps us from having to start our own podcast. You just give us a voice out there, enough to, we don't really need a podcast. We just get her and spew a bunch of shit on yours.
Well, exactly. And for me, people say, why do you do it? And I said, well, hopefully the world will get better and my grandkids will do better because of stirring some shit. But if nothing else, it's cathartic. I'm somebody who likes to speak his mind and tends to be blunt. And it doesn't do any good if no one's listening to you. So we have the opportunity with the podcast or TikToks that there are some crazy fucks out there that listen. So if they're out there, I'm going to be talking my shit. I was watching something. You're down in San Antonio, Texas, one of my favorite cities in Texas. I'm not going to be going back to Texas in the near future because of all the other bullshit going on. But I saw somebody who was tied to the Republican Party, not anymore. And he was speaking in front of the legislature, I think, and he was just berating the Republicans for the anti-democratic things they're doing with the gerrymandering and such. Are you noticing Republicans down there starting to get a little itchy about this whole situation by how far they're going?
I wish I could say yeah, but no. I mean,
Really?
it's like that big beautiful bill that they passed in the House, and they were like in the Senate, and they were like, well, they have regrets now. I mean, they have regrets is only because they're being called out on it.
Right.
It's down here. They had time. They had time to think about this. The Democrats were gone for a couple of weeks, but what they're focusing on now is punishing the Democrats. There was some kind of I guess, quorum to get the Republicans to punish the Democrats, and I don't think enough votes got there. So maybe that's part of a maybe a bright light there, so to speak. I don't think the Republicans are scared because I don't think they care. I think they
Yeah.
worry about what's in their bank account. They they didn't worry about doing anything with the grid. They want to take away freedoms. They took away a woman's right to choose. We started that shit down here, and now they're taking away. They voted and they passed pretty much the same bill, but Abbott vetoed on the marijuana and pot stuff. So they don't listen to their constituents. They had people, Republicans too, you know talking about how they didn't want this shit. They still pass it because it all goes to their orange messiah. And when I say
So,
orange, forgive the hat I'm listing. That's burnt orange. That's different. Trump is the orange messiah.
so the marijuana bill, are you saying then that marijuana is going to be outlawed in Texas?
Well, they passed it in the Senate, which is no secret because that's Dan Patrick's, what he has a heart
Yeah.
on for.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything in the House yet, but I think they got the votes to do it. So I haven't really heard too much about it because everybody's talking about the gerrymandering. And, of course, now Trump wants to, sue California for what they're doing, but they
Well, they
just
already tried and they
they don't,
lost.
and they don't fucking say anything about what Texas is doing. It's like,
Yeah.
I can do it, but you can't fucking do it. And, but it's just like anything down here. I mean, the Republicans, when something goes their way, they want everybody to follow the law. And, case in point, the Ten Commandments, a judge struck that down. Well, our illustrious, soon to be ex Attorney General Ken Paxton is telling the school districts to fucking ignore the judge. The balls on this guy. I mean, it's
No,
like, yeah, and it's like Abbott did with when he lost the buoy thing with when the Biden administration was suing him. I mean, they and Trump does the same thing. They approve of what goes their way, but if it doesn't go their way, you just ignore it. So-called party of law and order, huh?
it sounds like my 5-year-old granddaughter on a bad day. Normally, she's a real good kid and we have a lot of fun with her, but they get those moments where they will, I want it my way, only my way, and anything else I can't accept. Now, as I've told my wife, she's 5. That shit happens with 5-year-olds. But when you're talking about grown men and grown women who behave like this, it's troubling. Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, uh, now does he have to leave his office in order to run for the Senate? Does he have to leave
He's
office to
already,
do?
yeah, evidently, one of his, I saw it today, one of his, I don't know if he has to leave or he's just term limited out. I'm not really quite sure. I try not to pay too much attention to Ken Paxton, but Ted Cruz came out for Chip Roy, and Chip Roy used to be a Paxton protege, but they had a falling out.
Oh,
So Ted
well,
Cruz endorsed him, and Ken Paxton endorsed somebody else. So he's definitely going to be vacating it. So they're both, MAGA Republicans. So it's, neither one's going to get my vote.
do you think that there's any hope of getting a decent attorney general in the next election? I mean, you got all kinds of Republicans doing fucked up shit. Ken Paxton's out of the way. That's got to be a plus. But is there people that are better than him that can replace him?
Well, there was a poll about Cornyn has closed the gap on Paxton, and it just proves that what Cornyn was doing was pretty much, trying to appease MAGA, and it evidently worked. Going after the Democrats when they were, on their break.
Right.
And there was a poll that they were doing it, but there was another poll, and polls change daily. But Beto was actually beating them. Beto
Really?
placed ahead of best. Beto placed ahead of Alf Alred, Allred, who's running for. I think he's running for that Senate seat too. But he's running for the Senate seat. But that's one thing Beto hasn't run for as Attorney General. You know, that would be pretty cool for him to win Attorney General, have to work with Abbott. So, I mean, you talk about a clusterfuck more than it is now.
That would be interesting. Now, in this gerrymandering, this redistricting that Texas did, that pretty much does away with Jasmine Crockett's seat.
Yeah, but I heard there's another seat that she can run for in that area. It won't be hers there, but there's something that I don't think you actually have to live in the
I believe
district,
that's correct. Yeah.
live in the state. I think maybe Eric said that. I heard somebody brilliant say that. And
I've heard it a few places, not only Eric, but I saw it in the media too, that from some expert, she doesn't have to live in the area.
which is just so fucked up is just that, I think I told you before is that Austin's the blue, it's the capital, but it's really blue, but they extended it all the way out until like Hickville, as they call it, just all
Yeah.
this, rural thing. And Republicans automatically think just because you live in the country, you're Republican. If the farmers were smart, I mean, evidently they voted for Trump again after he bankrupted them the first time, and now he's about to do it again. Especially when you're in somebody like Nebraska that's going through all that shit with the
Yeah.
soybeans. They had that deal you were talking about, and they just
Yeah.
pissed them off. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take for some of these people. I mean, it's like, I see these Republicans out here and I see these people bitching at Kerrville about all the shit going on. I mean, it's the same thing with, they did with Uvalde. I mean, they still voted for those people. Those people still get elected. You get mad at them and you yell at them and you still go and vote for them. It's like Abbott, I mean, was all over that shit. The only one standing up at that time was Beto, and he still got beat by Abbott.
Yeah. But, I'm a Midwesterner. I've only been to Texas a few times. Had a good time every time I went to Texas. But as I look at Texas and Florida right now, based on what they've done over the time that Donald Trump has been around, I almost look at both of these states as a lost cause. I have no desire to go to either state. I have no desire to put money into their economy based on the things they believe and the way they treat people. And I get a sense that there are a lot of people around the country who kind of feel the same way about Florida and Texas. And Florida more so with tourism, but Texas counts on a certain amount of tourism. They've got to be taking a beating when it comes to the tourism money.
I think I mentioned that the Mexican nationals, they come up and they're quite wealthy. You know, everybody thinks Mexico's a third world country.
Yeah.
A lot of rich people in Mexico. I mean, they come up here, they spend their money. Well, they did. And that's, I mean, there was a thing in Brownsville. It's closer to the border down there, and there's no traffic. I mean, there's just nobody coming up here. I mean, why would you go to a country where you could get arrested? I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, it's what this administration is doing is they're arresting people and they're asking questions later. I mean, look what they do to Old Soul. I mean, they just ask questions and they don't give a shit because I mean it because they're targeting. I mean, they're targeting who they deem as weaker, women and children. I mean, they're deporting kids getting cancer treatments. I mean, my God. I mean, and I was always raised to believe that believing turn the other cheek, be a better person, make an example. And it's just what the Republicans do. It's just about cruelty. It's just about, it's more than owning the libs. It's just being who can be the bigger dick.
Yeah,
And
it's absolutely true.
and you look at MAGA and you look at MAGA and that's just, you see those people out there. It's like, my dad didn't live long enough to see that, but I mean, there was a story I heard about him that, they were having a party, back in the 70s, when they didn't have, they were out there drinking, had a bunch
Yeah.
of cold beer, and this guy offered him, "Hey, you want a cold beer?" It's like, "No, I like warm beer." I mean, that's exactly what fucking MAGA does. I mean, it's like they just want to be dicks, you like something, things are going good over here. Well, I want to piss all over that shit. I don't want you to fucking, just because there's a transgender person, I'm gonna, boycott your beer. I'm gonna fucking Cracker Barrel, dude. Have you fucking ever seen a fucking more snowflake group fucking freaking out about Cracker Barrel? You talk about fucking white fucking, I mean, white privilege or whatever you call it. I mean, my God, it's a fucking restaurant, and they
That's
act like they're
that's
fucking closing it down.
yeah, that's like ultra snowflake sensitive. Uh, I've heard somebody say before, some people aren't happy unless they're fucking miserable. Now,
Exactly.
Cracker Barrel, we only have one Cracker Barrel in this state. We had more. Um, there's a bunch down in Georgia where we go from time to time, and all the rest of the country. Cracker Barrel was one of those places that I hadn't been to a long time, and I don't want to go to a chain restaurant. Then I went into a Cracker Barrel and had dinner there. Fucking was good. I'm
Oh
going,
man.
Jesus Christ, this is a lot better than I remember. The whole logo part of it makes no sense. I mean, they're looking for something to get mad at people about. Um, you're talking about how they treat people. The big story we heard today was about Kilmar Abrega Garcia. Let's just we'll just take a look at what they did to him. They scooped him up. They deported him to El Salvador, some horrific prison down there. They did it accidentally, which they acknowledged. They did it illegally, which they acknowledged, but they said we can't get him back because the El Salvadoran president has the power and we can't make him do it. Well, the pressure got hard enough and they got him back here somehow, some way. And Donald Trump and the Trump folks didn't want him coming here and talking to the press and letting them know what kind of experiences he had. So they said they were going to deport him again. Uh, he ended up going to some pretrial hearings and he's going to go on trial. He's going to get his due process. I know that's a thorn in the side of the Republicans. Nobody should get due process, but he's in a pre-trial hearing and he's going to go on trial. And The magistrate judge said, look, there's no reason to hold him in prison or in jail. He can go free until his trial, and then we'll see what happens. Well, Donald Trump did not like that. He doesn't like, even though he admitted he was wrong, he doesn't like to be perceived as wrong. So he doubles down and triples down, and he goes to Kilmar Abrega Garcia. And this is how you know what his intention was. He said, look, you take a plea deal and we send you to Costa Rica. Or if you don't take a plea deal, we will send you to Uganda. Fucking Uganda. How did you come up with Uganda? Only because you got a deal with them and they said they'd take him. What about the guy just getting his day in court? What about him just standing trial? And see, that's what Donald Trump is afraid of. They know he'll go on trial, he'll win the case, he will look stupid, and there's nothing they can do with at this point. So they want him to admit that he did something wrong, even if he didn't do something wrong. And I don't know if he did. I don't really fucking care. That's the whole point of having a trial. Fucking finding out. But Donald Trump is so afraid that he's going to be proven wrong, he wants to shut it down ahead of time. And this is what he's doing all over the country. He just makes threats hoping people will fold.
How ironic that he got his trial. He got his thing where he became a felon.
Yeah.
It just every time I hear it, even with those that judgment that was thrown out against him, I was reading some of the comments, and MAGA was convinced that that was the felonies being thrown out. I was watching TikTok and they were talking about that, and I'm like, even a guy that steals classified documents, even a guy that, has, been accused of rape, all this stuff, he got his fair trial,
Yeah.
but he doesn't want to afford that to anybody else. And we can rag on the guy till eternity. It's on Merrick Garland for not doing enough for it. This is the reason we're in this shit right now. And what pisses me off is that Merrick Garland didn't want to look political. I mean, if he did half the shit that they're doing now, I mean, that would have been justice.
Yeah.
It would have been, what they're doing now. They're trying to, they want to, I saw a thing, I don't know who it was, but they were saying, well, if there's no indictments coming, they're going to fire Bondi and they're going to fire, Patel. And I'm like, well, you can try to get indictments, but I mean, you still got to have your day in court. And I think you're right where you say that, they're going to probably try this guy and they're going to realize he did nothing wrong.
Right.
That's like that's like, and MAGA and the people that are on Donald Trump's side, I got two words for you. John Bolton.
Yeah.
If you want to see where you're going, and if you want to see what he wanted to do in his first term, look at John Bolton. I don't have any love for John Bolton. I think the guy's a war hawk. I think, I mean, if he did something good, but we all know it's been what, 5 years since that book came out, and all of a sudden they
Right.
want to prosecute him now. I mean, if you're Scaramucci, if you're Joe and Mika, you're, anybody that's, whatever. I mean, Hillary, Bill, I mean, it's like what he wants to do. And Bolton is like, I think, and he's and it's probably not going to stick. He wants to get all this revenge on it. And he's just, I mean, it's like he's seeing, like going into DC, he's seeing how far, what he can get away with to
Yeah.
see if there's any pushback. He's going to get a lot of pushback in Illinois and California already, so he ain't gonna fuck with them.
Well, he's
But
getting pushback in Washington, D.C., too.
yeah,
Unfortunately, our media doesn't report it. I just want to clarify something because I know people heard the story and you brought it up when they set aside a finding in one of Donald Trump's court cases. This was the court case Letitia James had against Donald Trump, and he was found guilty of this lawsuit, or guilty is not the right word, whatever the word is, and he was made to pay $500 million, right? Okay, so he took it to an appellate court. They didn't say he wasn't guilty of the project or the process. They didn't say anything. They thought that the amount that he was fined was too much. That's what they thought. Okay. Now people think it's over and now Donald Trump doesn't owe the money. That's not the case because Letitia James now can take it to the next step, just like Donald Trump might. She's going to take it to the Supreme Court. People are going, oh my, not the Supreme Court. No, not the U.S. Supreme Court, the New York Supreme Court. So we'll see how that fucking goes for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I was just reading some of the MAGA stuff and they were talking about, yeah, those felonies have been dismissed. And I'm like, I mean, I was like, I don't even think Donald Trump said that. I was like, where the fuck did you get
No,
that from? I
they
mean, I guess
try
it came
so
out of New
hard.
York. But what you got to do also is, when I tell people that are MAGA about, yeah, well, they talk about, wanting to get rid of the crime. I go, well, fucking the president's a felon. And they just want to like throw it off to like it's that some judge made this ruling. No, he was found guilty by a jury that had MAGA people on there.
Yeah.
He is a felon, and that is going to be hard for him to get rid of. I mean, unless the Supreme Court, can the Supreme Court throw that out, or is that state charges?
It's what the
34
34
felonies.
felonies, those are state
Yeah,
charges.
yeah. So they can't because I mean, he's already talked about, getting rid of those or whatever. But that would have to go to the Supreme Court, right? I guess, or overturn it, or a
They
judge
have
or
to go to the
something.
state Supreme Court, not the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court has no authority over state law.
Yeah, and I don't know if Donald Trump knows that or not. So, I mean,
No,
he
he
thinks,
probably doesn't.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, those felonies still stand. He's still a felon, and as much as MAGA wants to hide from that, I mean, it's like, I tell everybody I got a fucking mullet, dude. I ain't got a fucking mullet, and it's gone. So, I mean, he's a felon, dude. And when I hear, and that's all I got to say to MAGA is when they say they want to get rid of the criminals, I'm like, well, start at the fucking top then.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to send the National Guard into Washington, D.C., you can pretty much focus around 1600 because that's where most of the crime is, whether it be in the administration. Um, uh, it was interesting. I heard somebody was talking about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who was being interviewed. And she said something inadvertently trying to help Trump that may have harmed a lot of people in his cabinet. She was um, she was trying to make Jeffrey Epstein look better and make herself look better. And she said something like, well, if Jeffrey Epstein was such a bad guy, there's a lot of people in Trump's cabinet that knew him very well. Oh, good move. Apparently, she's not any smarter than Donald Trump. Apparently, there's other people in the cabinet that have some history with Jeffrey Epstein. That's the thing about these people. They're going to continue to talk. They don't know when to shut up, and they constantly implicate themselves. Um, I wanted to bring something up because this was something that just happened today, and I'm talking about Monday. Um, because I'm not even sure if this is even a story, because I don't know that he's able to do this. Trump says he has fired Fed Governor Lisa Cook, escalating his battle against the central bank. Now, President Trump on Monday said he fired Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, according to a letter addressed to her posted on his social media. For instance, of a president firing a central bank governor this is the first time ever in the 111-year history. The unprecedented move represents a significant escalation of President's battle against the Fed, which he is blamed for taking too long to lower interest rates. I don't even know that he can do that. And I'll guarantee you this, Donald Trump doesn't know any more than I do when it comes to this. I don't know that he can even do that. Here's the ironic thing, though. Donald Trump was big on these job report numbers and how he didn't like it and how he fired that person for it. Now, he could do that. This board governor, I don't think he can do that. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But by virtue of him fucking up the jobs report and fucking with the economy, they probably are going to lower the rate because the circumstances warrant dropping the interest rate. So he's got people in a position to maybe lower the interest rates, yet he still wants to fire somebody, including Jerome Powell, from this. This fucker doesn't know what he wants. He doesn't understand how anything works. He is completely oblivious to anything. He just like a little kid that walks in a room, not a good kid, and just wants to break shit. And that's what he's doing.
Well, they've also talked about he's got more bruises on his hands. I mean, there was somebody that put a picture of like Queen Elizabeth before she passed away. She had those kind of same marks on her hands. I mean, and he's nowhere near as old as she was. I mean, she was what, 100, and he's like,
Yeah.
something. But it he rambles on. He just, he talks about, and now he's supposedly he's grifting off God. Like he has some kind of movement now to where God saved me.
Yeah.
And there was some TikTok that went out, and I don't know if it was real or not, but it showed like all the people around him when he had those leaders that they were all holding their noses. I don't know with AI if that was real or not, but the stench has got to be pretty bad, especially
Yeah.
because he's dying from the inside out. And and he's getting bruised up like that. His cankles are there. I mean, it's having Alex Jones freak out that they're going to lose MAGA. I mean, he sees what's coming, that they're going to be stuck with less effective JD Vance, and I know, and they said, well, JD Vance just as evil. Yeah, he may be as evil as Trump, but like you said, I mean, he ain't gonna call the guy in the Senate and tell him you got to pass this bill, and they're gonna do it. I mean, he ain't gonna be able to get Chip Roy to bend the knee. He ain't gonna be able to do shit like that. So it's like, I mean, it's like what they're trying to do, and I saw some creator talk today. If it wasn't for the advanced healthcare that presidents get, he'd probably be gone already. If that would have been me or you going through that shit, we'd be fucking, pushing up daisies already.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
he's just not well, and he's just, and when he, I mean, and where's the media on this? I mean, my God, Biden tripped over a fucking, stair, got up. Oh my God, is he fit to be president? I mean, there is shit that is 20 times fucking thing that Trump does. I mean, Biden is still in better shape. I would still have Biden fucking running the presidency compared to this guy.
Now, I have a theory about Donald Trump's bruising on his hands. This might be out there a little bit. This might be a conspiracy theory, but truth doesn't matter anymore. So what the fuck?
Nope.
I, you notice those bruising of the hands, people really started talking about it after that summit with Vladimir Putin. Now, my premise is this. My premise is two things. First of all, Donald Trump spent most of the time with Vladimir Putin jacking him off. And Vladimir Putin's just into rough sex. That's my theory, and that's what I'm sticking with. And if you want to argue with me about it, that's fine. But that seems to make the most sense.
Yeah, I saw some memes where it was called like Brokeback Mountain. It has like, was that picture of Putin without his shirt on and the horse, and they're like there together and stuff. And I mean, it just amazes me is the same party of Ronald Reagan that just has this, image of Reagan as being this, conservative, Rush Limbaugh used to say rugged individualism, which is bullshit because nobody builds shit on their own. We
No.
all had, somebody help us out. And Ronald Reagan, the wall tearing down, all this shit. And what does fucking Trump do? He writes love letters to fucking North Korea dictator who killed people. I mean, he pretty much gets used by Putin. Even Fox News comes out and says that. But where's your machismo? I mean, oh my God, you sit there and you call him daddy? What the fuck, dude? I mean, I don't call anybody fucking daddy. I didn't call my own dad daddy. I go pops, dad, not daddy. If I'm dating a woman and she wants to call me daddy, that's fine. But I do not call another man daddy. So you look at these, they got these, and it's all a big bluff, man. It's just like Trump. I mean, MAGA is just like Trump. It's just all, there's an old wrestling saying, all fluff and no stuff. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's a big myth. And why there's people that are still afraid of this is why we're in this problem. You have reporters that weren't afraid to lose their lives back then, and they would expose stuff like Mike Wallace, Edward R. Murrow, the people that went after that stuff. But now people are afraid to lose their livelihood because they're afraid that they won't get a big pay cut, they won't get nothing. I mean, case in point, Chris Cuomo. I used to watch him when he was on CNN. I thought he made a lot of sense.
I did
But
watch him some, but wow.
You watch him now, and he's like, I mean, it's like Bill Maher. And there was some comedian that just called him out is go, Bill Maher is still trying to be relevant. And he's right. I agree with
Yeah.
that. He went after Biden when it was cool to do that. He kissed Trump's ring and went to go see there. I mean, I want the people that stand on their own and fucking, call somebody out. And I think that's why he has a real problem with Joe Rogan and them because they're not MAGA. They're not, they appeal to MAGA, but they're not MAGA. They're kind of like, they're kind of like South Park and the fact that, you had Joe Rogan on there that, was ready to endorse the guy from Texas down here saying you should be running for president.
Right.
And it's just like totally, they don't, there's no loyalty like that. And that's what we need more of. I mean, and that's what we need more in the media. The media normalizes this stuff. When Trump says something, they report it as fucking fact. Oh, he'll have his healthcare plan out in 2 weeks. They still ain't got no fucking healthcare. He was running on that shit. And when the media, and I think that's why they're losing to people like Midas Touch, is because people were tired of it. And, the Democrats are so down in the shitters because they don't fucking fight against this stuff. I mean, it's like Colin Allred. I get emails from him all the time. I voted for him last time. I damn well ain't going to send him any money now because he was too good. And at the last moment went to, and I never, and to the Kamala thing in Chicago, you know what I mean? But he was too
Yeah.
good to do that. I'm tired of Democrats, independents too. And Will said it best. He says, if you're an independent, you're MAGA. And I kind of believe that because you're not really standing in it for anything. You want it to be, you want it to have both sides. You want to please, both sides to it. I mean, we're in a freaking war, and the Republicans aren't fucking playing around. And if you got a problem with Gavin Newsom, well, say hello to the next president of the United States, JD Vance, if you're not going to
Yeah.
be able to get off and vote for somebody like Gavin Newsom.
What always troubles me whenever I see the polls, whether they're good or bad for Donald Trump. You have a percentage for him, a percentage against him. And I don't really have a problem with either of those because there's a certain amount of people um, that will support Donald Trump no matter what, no matter how bad his polls gets. He'll still be around 30% at worst because people will follow him no matter what. The thing that upsets me more than anything is the percentage you see that say, I don't know, I'm
No opinion.
unsure, don't have an opinion on it. Are you fucking kidding me? You sit and you watch what's going on today. You listen to this shit. You see the shit, and you have not come up with an opinion. I'd have more respect for you if you said to me, "I'm MAGA." At least you show some balls and stand for something. And that's one of the problems in this country. We have a lot of people, 25% of the people. I don't know. I don't watch. I don't pay attention. But you sure bitch when it bites you in the ass. And then you don't know anything. So then you're not in a position to fix it. The people who don't, or the people I talk to that say, well, I don't like talking about politics because it makes me ill. Okay, that's fine. But understand your unwillingness to engage in this situation is part of the reason we're in this situation. So excuse me for saying so, but I blame you too.
That's a big reason we're in this mess in the United States as well as Texas. I was watching something and they were talking about the gerrymandering, and you had this political pundit on there. Well, both sides do it. Well, fucking Texas Democrats haven't done it 30 fucking plus years. So don't
Right.
give me that shit about both sides. And it's not both sides. It's the both sides to people that try to feel good about themselves. People bitch about gas, but they don't want to they don't want to invest in technology like electric cars. People bitch about the food prices, but they don't want to fucking, donate to help global warming. I mean, and you have people too that they checked out, and you're probably not going to get those people. I mean, and I don't really blame Kamala for, endorsing. I've heard a lot of people say that, she shouldn't have embraced, you know, uh, Cheney's. But goddamn, if she didn't embrace them, she would have been in loss. She would have been blamed for not fucking embracing them. You can't fucking win with some people, and it's like that on the fucking left. They were, so worried about, Genocide Joe. I mean,
All right.
how do you like it now?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you like that shit now? Joe don't look so bad, does he? And those fucking people, you don't even hear from them anymore. But man, when Joe Biden did something, they fucking all over his ass. They don't say shit about Trump. You know what I
I
mean?
think
It's just
I
ridiculous.
think that, and people thought I'm crazy for saying this, but um, I think we've outlived the usefulness of parties,
Yeah.
and I'll explain to you what I mean. Kamala Harris, uh, people will complain that she sidled up to Liz Cheney. I don't think that was beneficial to her. I don't think it helped her. But I think where the real problem was for Kamala, she listened to the people in the DNC and the Democratic Party and in Congress to tell her how she should act or how she should behave. If she was able to just be herself, it might have been a much different situation. I mean, we're in different times than we were in 2000 or 2016 even, because this society isn't quite as serious politically as we once were. This is about branding. This is about influencers in politics. Gavin Newsom is a good example. He's probably the most popular Democrat right now because he's an influencer. He's entertaining. He's doing what people want. He's showing some fight. Now, the fact that other Democrats aren't recognizing this and maybe following suit tells me a lot about who they are. Their futures in this business aren't there. J.B. Pritzker comes out today and he's going after Donald Trump. He questioned his mental acuity. He hits back at him when Donald Trump calls him a fat slob. He, which is so ironic. I think we need I think we need personalities that do what people want them to do and fight. On the Democratic side, it's somebody who's willing to fight. If you're not willing to fight, if you want to continue to do what politicians have done, you're going to fucking lose. You're either going to lose to another Democrat or lose to a Republican. You got to kind of emulate what Donald Trump is doing in sense of creating a brand for himself, except be one that's honest and decent and wants things for the people of this country as opposed to what Donald Trump does. But we're in an era now where I think we need personalities or brands that people can subscribe to as opposed to parties, because there is no uniformity in the parties. Republican Party, you can see the divisions there. Got the same divisions in the Democratic Party. Don't listen to the Democratic Party. Just go out and fucking be you.
I disagree a little bit on that
Well,
because
you can't do that. This is my show. Go ahead.
you have that section of the party, mostly Republican, that won't vote for a Democrat to save their life. So party does matter because it's perceived that the Republican Party, and I know a lot of people like this, are the party of Christ or the party of Christians. Even though Trump holds a Bible upside down, he's fundraising off God. He said in a speech one time that John McCain was looking up. I mean, if that's not a Christian, then I don't know what fucking is. But that's a lot of the party, and maybe, they're boomers and Gen Xers. Maybe that part will die, and maybe the younger ones will get like that. But right now, to the Republicans, I'm not sure about the Democrats because I haven't been as part of the this much of a voter as long as I was with the Republicans. But there's a Republican that that they hate Democrats. I mean, all this shit could go on and they'll comment about, well, that's typical Democrat. And it has nothing to fucking do with politics. It's just they're so against Democrats that, to them it's Hillary and Nancy Pelosi. That's who the Democrat Party is. Biden, he's an old school Democrat, either one. But it does still matter to a lot of the Republicans, and MAGA is intertwined with Republicans. But I mean, as they get older and die out, I do think it's disillusioning.
Well, here's the thing though. Here's the thing though. I'm not trying to get the attention or the votes from Republicans. As far as I'm concerned, they're a lost cause. Republicans from top to bottom, they're burning themselves down. Let's stand back, get some fucking marshmallows and some hot dogs and benefit from their fucking burning down. I'm talking about on the Democratic side.
Okay.
If you have a primary today for the presidency or the Democratic nomination, and you've got Chuck Schumer or you've got Gavin Newsom, who wins?
Kevin.
Without question. Gavin Newsom wins. And why does he win? Is he more experienced than Chuck Schumer? No. He's more popular because he's strong and he's fighting back. Chuck Schumer is not fighting back, even though he's been in the Senate for years and very experienced. It's what people want. They're not as worried about the experience as the person that they're supporting. I mean, I'll be honest with you, and me doing TikToks and stuff like that. People who follow me don't follow me because I'm the most handsome guy or the brightest guy.
Hey,
They
that's why I
just
follow
like,
you, Mike.
well, you're weird, but they follow me because they like the way I talk, okay? And the things I say and the way I do it. For good, for better or worse, that's why. And it's the same thing in politics. They want somebody who speaks for them, somebody who fights, who we know the Republicans are constantly trying to fuck us over one way or another. We need somebody strong to stop that shit. Chuck Schumer can't do that. Nancy Pelosi can't do that. Hakeem Jeffries can't do that. I don't even know that Pete Buttigieg can do it at this point. He's got to put some time in, I think. I like him. I think he might be a good president, but I think his time is in the future. He's a younger guy, so he's got that time. My point is that we've got to take the Democratic Party and build personalities, build influencers within the party. Gavin Newsom's doing it on his own. I'm hoping some other Democrats that have the wherewithal to do that might say, hey, that's a good idea. I get that impression from J.B. Pritzker when he was speaking today about Donald Trump's thought about bringing people into Chicago. He stepped up. He talked shit. He said Donald Trump is a piece of shit in not so many words. But that's what needs to happen. And those are the people that those are the people that the crowds will get behind.
What, Mike, you don't think strongly worded letters are the way of the future? I mean, come on, man.
Not
What with
anymore.
the rotary dial and the freaking landline? Come on, man.
We
Yeah,
need
I
somebody to go slap the taste out of their mouth. We need somebody like that.
yeah, I get what you say. I mean, I get what you're saying. And I hope the Democrats do realize it, and I just wish more would follow his lead. It's like what you and Ed were talking about how America's almost become wrestling. That it's
Yeah,
like it's like there was an era in the 90s called the Attitude Era, and you had these like what they call baby faces, which are the good guys. They were fresh faced baby faces. I mean, The Rock was like that. He was a good looking dude out there, that Hulk Hogan mold. He took care of himself, worked out, did the right thing. They used to chant "Die Rocky Die," but who do
right.
they cheer for? They cheer for a finger, beer drinking Stone Cold Steve Austin, which I did too, I'll admit. They didn't want that. And it's still like that. You can't tell in wrestling who the good guy is and who the bad guy is. It got to the point to where the heels were cooler. And that's what you're
Yeah,
kind of getting with Trump, is because, those people, and what sadly is they think that he's there for them, but he's not. And it's like those televangelists in the 80s, 90s and stuff, where they would, say they're praying for you, and grandma would still be checking that in, but we thought, man, those people are fucking stupid. But little did we realize that stupid is a lot more spread out than we thought. I mean, it's like those people, and it's like the ones that still vote for Pelosi and Schumer.
right.
I mean, thank you for your service, but I mean, we got to get younger with this stuff. I mean, we can't have, I mean, and don't get me wrong, Pelosi is a badass. She, and January 6th
Was
proved her time has
was
her time has come, and I think that's why the Democrats have such, because that's who they equate. I think Biden, I think he was the best of the bunch, and that's the one they screwed the most. And I, he doesn't get, popular points. I think history will judge him a lot better than what we're doing here. He'll definitely love him a lot better than what we do a lot of Trump.
Yeah, I think though that Biden, as much as I like Biden and I appreciate all the things he did for the era, he was behind the times. He was
Oh yeah.
playing a different game than what politics is now. So we need somebody who's going to play the game at this level and of this era. And something I've talked about before, the reports or the data I've seen is that boomers have been kind of the majority of the voters for a long time, and that's part of the reason why we're dealing with what we're dealing with. But come 2028, it sounds like the majority is going to be millennials and Gen Zs. So that tells us there's going to be a shift, a dramatic shift. When you take boomers to millennials, there's going to be a shift. Hopefully, it's a good shift. Hopefully, it's to a more liberal shift, but it's going to be different. And politicians need to recognize that. The problem the Republicans have is they're all really fucking old. They're all really old. Democrats have some young people. So if you want the Democrats to persevere through this whole thing, you need to take those young people, start spotlighting, showcasing them, and building them into potential candidates for the presidency. Otherwise, you're I don't know what you're going to get from the millennials and Gen Zs, but you got to appeal to them now. Fuck the boomers. And I say that as a boomer. Fuck the boomers. Who cares what they think? Focus on the people that are voting today and will be there in the next 20 to 40 years.
Well, once fucking again, Generation X just gets whoop to the side. We're the forgotten fucking people. We're just the fucking, throwaway generation, latchkey kids. A lot of Generation X fucking vote with boomers. I mean, there's not much of a difference if you ask me. Because I mean, me and you hang out. I'm Gen X, you're boomer, but I think we're a lot of the ways alike.
What year were
I
you
think
born?
1972.
Okay, so you are younger than me, but I was born in 1960. Okay, um, uh, and boomers go from 46 to 64.
Hmm.
So I'm a very young boomer. So people say, why don't you like all the other boomers? Because I'm closer to the Gen X thing. Uh,
But
and the whole thing, I get tired of listening to TikTok and the Gen X's saying, "Oh, we were the latchkey kids, we're the tough guys, we're all this." Fuck you. I'm almost a Gen X too, So, I mean, I went through all the same things a lot of these people went, and the boomers talking about what they've done. I'm not a boomer in the true sense because I didn't go through a lot of things that the older boomers went, and the Gen X's. I'm a little older than them, so I went through some of the similar things they did. Who fucking cares? Just be a human.
I think with Gen X, and especially in my case, I think that I identify it with, a little bit older. I mean, we've talked about that stuff. And I think a lot of Gen X are like that, that, we like, the older bands, we like the older movies. And when you see millennials on TV and the younger group, and you see them responding to like, they listen to they're responding to like AC/DC or like Kiss or Iron Maiden. I mean, they're like, oh wow. They don't seem to have that thing to where they grew up like we did. They have more of a choice, that there's more, it's in their hand right now. I mean,
Right.
with me, I learned how to use a computer at work and I kind of adapted into it like a lot of boomers. But these kids now have so many options at their hands that, maybe that's why a lot of them aren't into politics, because they have so much other shit. And you also got to
Yeah.
realize too that, man, I mean, it's like these boomers and Gen Xers are holding on to these houses, and these kids are trying to get out of debt with all that student loan stuff. And that's like the one thing you can bankrupt to get out of. And that's, student loan debt. And it's like they're kind of stuck. So, I mean, I would hopefully that gets them pissed off to say, well, they want to run against a Pelosi or Schumer. They want to run against a, JD Vance when he was a senator. They want to do shit like that to where we get rid of these fucking fossils and get some young blood in there. And I'm even talking about, people my age. Hakeem Jeffries is about my age, and you were talking about it. He's a real disappointment because he's just a puppet
Oh,
for puppets.
incredible.
And it's sad. It's really sad, and a lot of people said that about Kamala, that, she was a puppet for, I think she was perceived as a puppet for Biden, but I don't think she was. I still think she would have been a hell of a president.
I think she would have been a better president than Biden, honestly, especially if she had some help in Congress because she was younger. She knew, I mean, she wasn't that young. She wasn't that young. She was 60.
Yeah.
So that's not incredibly young. But anybody would have
Compared to
been
the rest
better
of
than,
Congress, it is.
well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And like I say, the millennials and the Gen Zs, people have to understand, they complain about boomers, they complain about millennials, and I've always had this argument with people. Look, boomers will say millennials are lazy and stupid and all that stuff, and millennials will say boomers are selfish and they did this and they got everything going for them. Look, I'm a boomer. I was born in 1960. What happened in this country had no bearing on me. It had to do with who was running this country, the government. I just dealt with the situation that we were handed. And frankly, if you think the boomers were handed everything on a plate, silver plate, and everything was perfect, you don't know what you're fucking talking about because everybody who's a boomer that I know have gone through periods of times where they struggled too and things weren't great. Like home interest rates were 17% at one point in the 70s. So it's all relative to how you grow up, and each of us grow up in different eras and different times. But the funny thing about millennials and boomers is this. Somebody would say, "What do you think of millennials?" Well, I like millennials. They say, "How can you say that?" I say, "Because I have two sons that are millennials. I have a daughter-in-law who's a millennial." So if boomers hate millennials, you motherfucking raised them. Maybe you fucked up. And if I told my sons one time, he was talking to me about boomers. I go, it's funny you should mention the selfishness and everything for yourself and all that stuff. Because I remember you, millennial, when you were about 10 or 11 years old. I took you to the store to buy you birthday gifts, and we walked out of that motherfucking store with $200 worth of plastic Batman shit. So tell me who's selfish. Fuck you.
I think the boomers are a little bit tougher because they were raised by the greatest generation that, lived through the Depression, that were more frugal, so maybe their parents were a little bit more hard on them than what, the boomers wanted more for their kids. So they maybe, spoiled their kids more. And I don't have any kids. So that's how I look at it because it seems like every generation wants better. I mean, of course there's
Oh,
parents that are
sure.
dicks about stuff. But I think that, millennials are, lucky to have the, boomers and Gen Xers to learn from because you always learn from that older generation. And I think that, but every generation thinks they're the smartest. There was some stuff that from my grandfather and grandmother I wish I would have listened to, but I knew everything when I was 23. It just really sucks a lot of times when you finally kind of figure shit out, that's kind of gone already, and when the millennials cut down boomers and Gen X's stuff, but it's going to be it's coming up their time. So
Yeah.
if they think they can do better, then fucking do it. I'm ready to do it. I mean, do it. Prove the boomers and Gen Xers wrong that we did everything right or we knew what we were doing. Prove us wrong. Don't become that thing where you accuse us of being all about me and selfish and stuff like that. Fucking show a little empathy. Show it to your fellow man.
What I can tell millennials is this, they can say whatever they want about boomers. And I grew up kind of weird, not being a young boomer. My folks were born in 1940. They're closer to being boomers than they are the greatest generation. My grandparents were in the greatest generation. My folks were born 6 years before the boomers took off, even though they probably were part of the boomer generation too, ultimately. Um, but people have said, wouldn't you like to go back to when you were younger and go through, relive some of those younger days? And here's what I'm going to tell millennials. In spite of what you might think about boomers, I would not want to go back in time. I would not like to go back to my younger days because I'm going to tell you this. No matter who you are, no matter how old you are, no matter what generation you grew up in, fucking life is hard. It's really hard. It's not easy. You go through some shit. Everybody goes through some shit, some more than others. Part of that is because you bring it on yourself. Part of it is just fucking horrible luck. But you go through some shit. The deal isn't how easy could I have had it or how much could I have gotten. It's how you persevere through that shit. Because when you do go through that shit, you learn some things. And now that I've learned those things, I don't want to fucking repeat it
Yeah.
because it's hard. Now, if your life is hard right now, I don't feel sorry for you because we all fucking did it. No generation has been gotten special treatment. When I was ready to buy a house as a boomer, it was fucking hard because I didn't have any money or credit. But I'm a boomer, so where's my special treatment here? Life is hard. Realize that it's hard. Do the best you can to get through it, and hopefully in the end things turn out all right. But instead of worrying about having the biggest house or the nicest cars, worry about living your life and spending time with your kids and doing
Yeah.
stuff with your kids. Because the life experiences are the only thing that are going to matter. I will tell you, when you're on your deathbed, and I've known some people when they're on their deathbed, and I'm 65, so God knows when that's going to happen. When you're on your deathbed, the only thing you have is those people that love you and the memories that you made. Everything else is going in a fucking garage sale. So focus on what's important and not about what you do or don't have.
Yeah, it's like what did I mean, I know he was a horrible human being, but what did John Wayne say about, life is tough. It's even harder when you're stupid. I mean, pretty much, you don't learn from your mistakes. You're going to repeat them. And we've obviously seen that with, the voters that voted for Trump, like one clusterfuck wasn't enough. So let's go through another one. So yeah, I mean, you sit there and you buy clothes for people you don't know to impress, people you'll never see again. I mean, it's like, the material things. It's like, yeah, I don't have a lot of family, but I got my dogs and I got, my mom and my cousins, and some good friends of mine. I mean, I consider myself lucky. They say if you can, count on your hand, like what, five friends or whatever. But like if something happened and know that they had to be there, that's what's important. It's not about if you got a brand new, it's nice to have a brand new Jaguar in the driveway if you can afford it. But it's not, it's better to have those five friends that that maybe outside of your family that you can count on. I mean, like you said, the deathbed, can't take it with you.
Put it this way, when I turned 60 years old and I was retired, and I decided at that point, I am only going to wear pullover shirts that are loose. I'm going to wear jogger pants that stretch and I don't have to put a belt on. I'm going to wear slip on shoes. I'm going to wear shitty generic fucking hats. And I don't care because I'm comfortable with that. And in spite of all that bullshit, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still the coolest motherfucker I know. So I win anyway. Just
Yeah.
be what you are. Just fucking do what you are. Live your life to the most comfortable and don't worry about shit because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's what kind of sucks about life is that once you get it figured out, I mean, you're already,
Too
most of
old.
your life's behind you and shit. I mean, I don't have everything. I don't consider myself, a rich man, just waiting for that Soros check to come in next week. Have you got your direct
Yeah.
deposit yet?
I ain't
I
got
mean,
shit lately. I'm apparently not loud enough.
yeah, I don't like have a lot of everything. What's that George Strait song? I ain't got a lot, but all I got is mine. I ain't
Yeah.
rich, but I'm free. Amarillo by morning. And, you know, that's what's important, and for me, being raised in, a, Christian nationalist thing to where you have to freaking just, everything, you got to feel guilty about everything. Because I remember one time I got asked when I was a kid and I busted my ass to make the honor roll. And somebody asked me, aren't you proud of yourself? And it's like, and then I literally, this minister was there, or I guess preacher. Well, pride cometh before the fall. I just just shit like that. And that's what fucks people up is that, hey, look at me, I accomplished something. Have a little pride. Don't be a conceited narcissist, but just be proud of, who you are. But there's always going to be somebody that, tears you down. And it's like you said earlier, no matter what you've fucking done in life, there's always been an asshole around that's fucking said you can't do it, that, cut down your work, maybe cheated off you, ripped you off. You're
Yeah.
always going to have that. And, it's easy to say, oh, well, you had it easy or, whatever. I mean, or we're the generation that, have been, attacked the most. I mean, you don't fucking, and quote another musician, Elvis, don't judge a man until you walk in his shoes, a mile in his shoes. I
Right.
mean, you never know what somebody's going through. So never, judge them to do that. And I think as a country, we've gotten away from that. We've gotten away from, you know, we've gotten about, especially with MAGA, we've gotten about the cruelty of it. It's like they get off on it. It's like they get a hard on to, put a, paint the, the wall black, to burn people. To, they just, they take
Which
away.
only works when it's light out.
Oh, well, I don't know. Texas is pretty fucking hot. It's probably pretty hot all day. But but it's just that. It's like, does he wake up and MAGA wake up just to, like the South Park thing? I don't know if you saw that part where they show Christy Nome going in there and shooting all those dogs. I
Yeah.
mean, that's exactly how I look at her. I mean, it was hard for me to watch, but she wasn't upset about that. She called it
Oh no,
lazy.
she takes pride in it.
Yeah, she's fine. I mean, like that. I mean, it's like, and you have somebody like Trump that gets up there and, oh, I may not go to heaven. You fucking think? I mean, you fucking think? I mean, if there is a God that, that judges, they all say we're going to meet our maker and, and according to Trump, it ain't himself,
Yeah.
that, we're all, we're going to get judged on how we lived our life. Like me or you, we kind of worry about, maybe cussing, and doing something like that, but just to wake up and just, how can I fucking make people's life harder? And that's what I
Yeah.
see with Republicans. And don't kid yourself. Republicans were like this before Trump.
Oh yeah.
They tried to take shit away from people before. They've always been against, any kind of like helping people, with, food assistance, with anything like that. They don't, Ted Cruz didn't want to help out New Jersey. You know what I mean? But when it hit Texas, he sure fucking wanted that help. I mean, it's like, and it's just typical Republican is that it doesn't matter until it touches them themselves. And I'm thinking that, Trump's not going to live forever. None of us are. But when that happens, and you're going to see a lot of Democrats and probably, some Republicans, they said about that, they're going to be happy he's gone. And they're going to try, MAGA's going to try to whitewash this and, say all this and whatever. I mean, they had a thing for Hulk Hogan's funeral at the 10 bell salute. They had wrestlers that wouldn't show up.
Right.
They were trying to make it seem like, all this stuff going on. I mean, they banned him for like a year, took him out of all that stuff, but all of a sudden everything's fine. And I get getting second chances, but I mean, you can forgive, but never forget. And a lot of this stuff, we're not going to forget.
It's not even about forgetting. I had this conversation with a friend of mine who also happened to be my boss's boss, and we were good friends. And my boss, much to her chagrin, got overridden by her boss many times because he liked me. But nonetheless, we were talking, and he was older. He was in his mid 60s at the time, and he was getting ready to retire. And we would talk, pretty straightforward with one another. And something I learned about working uh, in companies, just watched and I paid attention. And I said to my boss's boss, I said, Glenn, you're a great guy. People love you around here. People love you. Uh, you know, you're a good friend of mine. You'll always be a good friend of mine. But people bent and scraped to you because you're the boss, whether they liked you or not. Everything you said was going to be genius and everything you did was the right thing to do. I said, do you understand the moment on your last day you walk out that door, you're going to become the butt of jokes and people are going to talk shit about you. He goes, do you think so? I go, I know so. I've seen it 100 times. They're going to do it to me when I leave. They're going to talk shit about you. That's just the nature of human beings. Human beings, to a large extent, suck. That's who they are. And they're not very honest. They just cater to whatever works for them at the time that's going to benefit them. And this is exactly what we're going to see with Donald Trump. As soon as he's gone, sooner the better, as soon as he's gone, all these people that were kissing his ass or bending to him are going to start talking shit about him. Inevitably, when he's gone, all the people that you thought loved him no matter what are going to talk shit about him. That's just the nature of people.
Yeah, well, they did that when he lost the election. Everybody but Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah,
And whereas Kevin McCarthy now, Trump screwed him because he could have put Matt Gaetz in his place and kept Kevin McCarthy there. But Trump doesn't have that same loyalty his idiot followers have, like Kevin McCarthy, you know, and John Bolton. I mean, look at that. But you're right; it's going to happen like that. I mean, it. I mean, it. I mean, I do it. Like, oh, that's what's his name did that when he was here. Oh yeah, I mean, it's like you said, people suck, and
yeah,
I had some friends of mine that I used to work with, and hey, did you do that? It's like I wasn't me, that was so and so. And maybe I get blamed for shit. I'm not even there anymore. Yeah, it's gonna get like, oh, I never liked that guy, and I
absolutely.
think the one that sold his soul the biggest is Ladybug's Lindsey Graham. You know, I mean, when he goes, I mean, he look at how he did it after January 6th. He totally went after Trump. Now he's Trump's biggest supporter, one of the biggest Trump supporter. Ted Cruz never, did anything even after he called his wife a dog. So yeah, it's going to happen like that. And MAGA and Republicans are not MAGA, but Republicans are going to try to rehabilitate themselves. But it's something we always talk about. I think the Republican Party dies with Trump, and the Democratic Party may die because, like you said, the party thing is going away to where the whole MAGA stuff, they're not going to go towards JD Vance or, Ted Cruz
Yeah,
or whoever's going to pick up the mantle because Trump, love him or hate him, the dude is a survivor.
it's a
And the dude,
cockroach.
they, yeah, so are cockroaches. And the dude is a once in a lifetime cult of personality. I mean, that's not a good thing. That's not necessarily a good thing because,
Yeah.
there are a lot of other very bad people in the world that were the same thing.
Well, yeah, and it's inevitable, and the unfortunate thing for those people that will step back from Donald Trump and start talking shit about him, think they can rehabilitate himself. Now, if he was just a bad politician and a bad president, maybe they could over time. Maybe that's possible. But the fact of the matter is the devastation he's put upon this country, of to the people of this country, and to our government and to our military. um, it's going to be hard to redeem yourself from being part of that. And as I've said before, the other thing that people have to understand is when this is all done and Donald Trump is gone, there have been a lot of crimes, a lot of corruption, even atrocities that have been committed. You people that follow Donald Trump, you people that work with Donald Trump, that support everything he's done, you're going to rue that day, because there will be normal people coming into the DOJ, into the presidency, in Congress, and there are a plethora of crimes committed, and somebody will have to be accountable for it. Donald Trump will be gone. He won't be accountable for it. He'll be dead, thankfully. But they're going to come after the Stephen Millers, the Christy Gnomes, the Hegseths, the Lutnicks, the people that were part and parcel to this whole fucking looting of this country. There's crimes there that they were complicit with, and they're going to come looking for scalps. And since Donald Trump isn't there to protect them or take the brunt of it, they're going to come after you. So you better hope Donald Trump lives for another 100 years, because you're fucked otherwise.
Well, Trump wouldn't protect them anyway. He's already thrown, he wants to go after Chris Christie now.
Yeah.
What is he saying to Chris Christie? He got away with murder, about that bridge incident.
Yeah.
I mean, welcome to the party, pal. I thought Chris Christie got away with that too. I never understood how that happened. And then again, I realized, that's thug. That's like what thug politics, like they do in New Jersey,
Yeah.
and I mean, it's like he's getting so desperate that, he needs something to, throw it and, make it stick. And that's, Chris Christie, talk about Obama, talk about Hillary. I mean, it's just, the same old. But I mean, you can say you want to indict somebody, but it's still got to stand up at a trial. I mean, we still have this trials in this country, evidently, unless you're, you know, person that gets sent to, a foreign country for no reason. So, I mean, yeah, I think the biggest conspirator in all this stuff, Stephen Miller, because that's somebody that was with him in the first administration and this one. And the guy is just, I mean, it's just, I mean, I saw this thing on, I don't know if I told you about it, but it had like Lenny Kravitz compared to Stephen Miller. And you look at Lenny Kravitz, 61 years old, looks good and everything like that. And you see Stephen Miller like 38, 39, and just looks like Nosferatu. I mean, hate ages you. Hate ages you.
And how old is Stephen Miller? He's maybe 40,
Yeah.
maybe.
38, 40 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Um,
to be that just bitter. I mean, it's like, and we have that guy, pretty much running the country because I don't think Trump's that involved. I think he does what he wants to do. He's probably pissed he can't play golf, but he's got to hide behind a desk, and do stuff like that. I mean, it's Stephen Miller that's doing this stuff because I don't mean Trump's a nice guy, but I don't think Trump's even as mean as he is because the stuff he comes up with, I don't think it's Trump coming up with that stuff because I mean Trump's not
oh,
smart
hell no.
enough. He's that I don't think I don't know, like even when Hillary said something, you can say something nice about Trump and he'll like be nice, like when when Hillary said that, well, if you can get peace between, the two, then, I'll know about him for the Peace Prize. I mean, that touched, I guess, like what they say, the Grinch, that his heart grew. Hillary said something nice about me, and I mean, and all the shit, the painting the wall black and all, that's Stephen Miller, dude. You know it is.
Of course it is. Well, I've said this before, and some people have argued with me about it. Um, I don't think that Donald Trump is naturally evil. I really don't. I
Oh,
think he's naturally self serving and he's willing to do evil things
oh yeah.
to benefit himself. And that's really all it is. Somebody was talking to John Bolton about being a fascist, and John Bolton says, I don't think he's smart enough to have an ideology. And I think John Bolton's right there. He's not smart enough to be a fascist. He's not smart enough to put all these things together. He just does whatever he thinks is going to benefit from him. And if Stephen Miller can convince him of that, he'll do whatever the fuck he says. Or Project 2025. He'll do whatever they say. It's just, you got to understand how Donald Trump thinks. He knows he's a failure, he knows he's weak. And everything you see from Donald Trump is nothing but bluster trying to cover that up. So he's constantly grabbing at things, flailing at things, trying to prove that he's the tough guy, the smart guy, the best guy, even though in his heart, in his mind, he knows he's not. This is all performative. That's why everything Donald Trump does is performative. He's more concerned with making himself look good than accomplishing anything. Case in point, there's only been one bill passed in the fucking Congress, and that was the tax break for the fucking wealthy people. Where's all the other things? Donald, don't tell me how successful you are because you haven't done fucking anything but break shit.
Well, look what he's done. He's given like he's normalized dictators. He
Right.
did that thing with Putin. Not that's normalizing him. And he's also doing this thing to where with supposedly he and the guy from South Korea are talking about bringing in North Korea. I mean, where does it end? I mean, all these countries that, are the axis of evil, he's embracing because he likes that strongman thing. And what makes Trump so dangerous is that he's too stupid to realize he's being used.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's like the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025, they're using him. His vice president's using him. Elon used him. and I think we talked about that. Why is Elon so quiet? Because he probably knows that it may be soon for his guy to take over,
Right.
and like Putin uses him, Kim Jong-un uses him. I mean, it's like he gets and I remember somebody saying, well, that's what makes Trump so dangerous is that, he could be dying and he could do anything. Well, I mean, yeah, but I don't know if I don't think I think you said that he probably thinks he's going to live forever. I
Oh, I'm
mean,
sure he
he's
does.
always the smartest guy in the room. Well, Mr. Trump, you have 6 months to live. Oh, I don't have 6 months to live. I got 6 fucking years to live. I mean, it's like you can't tell him anything. You know what I mean? It's like Hillary called him a puppet, not a puppet. I mean, that's exactly what he is. He's a puppet. I mean, and everything he's done has proven that. He's a puppet to, Mitch McConnell used him in the first term. You know, I mean, they use him a lot. Pelosi and Schumer to a point used him, to get a lot of the, debt ceiling done. But to
Right.
MAGA, he's a hero. And if he can just keep them people happy, the 30%, then he's fine. Evidently, bowing to a dictator. Do you remember when Obama supposedly bowed to was it the Chinese guy or whatever, the Chinese leader? And MAGA, or I guess it was before MAGA, they just lost their shit. Oh my
Yeah.
God, and but Trump does, I mean, 20 times that worth. But it's like, it does it just it just I don't know, it's like everything he does on that, it just makes him, well, he's just a leader. He does that kind of shit. I mean, it's just you can't have it both ways. I mean, and they want it both ways.
I do enjoy what Gavin Newsom is doing and how it's really flustering Fox News and the Trump-a-fucks and Donald Trump himself. He held off responding to Gavin Newsom, and then in the middle of the night, he said a couple things that were pretty fucking weak, pretty fucking lame. But you don't see him continuing to go after Gavin Newsom. I'm sure his people are saying, "Don't do it. Don't do it. You're just going to start shit you can't handle." And now Gavin Newsom is coming out with the merch. I was talking to TJ. Um, my wife and I do what old people do from time to time. We go out to garage sales because we got nothing else to do. I can only talk about politics so much, and once I get done with that, we got to go do something. Just hang out, go out to dinner, go to a casino, go to a garage sale. And I ran into this woman who doesn't live that far away from me. She worked in the film industry, but she also used to own a company that did silk screening and embroidery and stuff like that. And I noticed her sign in front said um, something about Harris and Walls. And I walked up to her and I said, had that said Trump 2024, I wouldn't have come to this fucking thing. And she went off and told me she was an adamant Trump hater. She took me back into her room where she does some work, and she just has hundreds of shirts and hats that are all anti-Trump, and they're hilarious, and they're just burning him to the ground. And she was on Pinterest, selling these on Pinterest. Guess what? Pinterest banned her. Fuck you, Pinterest, you piece of shit. So they banned her, and I was thinking, what we should do, since I have a platform to a certain extent, maybe we should sell some of this merch that's talking shit about Donald Trump and take all the money and give it to Planned Parenthood or to helping the immigrants or something. That would
Yeah.
be fun to do. So I'm going to talk to her at some point and see if we can't do something like there was some clever shit. It was some clever shit. But
But I
Gavin Newsom has really found a way into these fucks. Finally, I just hope people will recognize that and say, well, maybe we should do that too. I think we've done that with the Rational Boomer podcast. We talk shit about Donald Trump. We talk about how embarrassing and how much of a fool and he shits his pants and all that stuff. But I think we need the entire country to be on that page, on the same page with Gavin Newsom.
The Pinterest stuff, I wonder if they did the same honors to MAGA stuff,
Oh, I'm sure not.
And I'm sure I've seen on Pinterest where it said F Biden. So they evidently, are, they need to be held accountable for that. Like, yeah, you ban that, just make it no political stuff. But I mean, I see stuff all the time on Facebook, Marketplace or whatever. There's, F this, F that. And it's like, I remember Facebook, they used to, back when they actually used to, care about what's posted on their pages, the truth or whatever, they were fine with that, but they've embraced it. And I hope, I hope the thing, like, I think Facebook is, it's kind of that, that older boomer Gen X kind of thing that uses, stuff. I think apps like TikTok are the way of the future.
Yeah.
And, stuff like that. And, when TikTok, runs its course, there'll be somebody else, to do it. Because if the government takes over TikTok, I guarantee there'll be an exodus of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, yeah, do it on there, man. I'd be interested in buying some of that stuff too, man. I mean, it's, you got to support
Yeah.
the, a fellow, shit stir.
Well, yeah, yeah. Somebody's got to do it, and as much as these politicians are going to have to try to redeem themselves, we're going to have mainstream media outlets. We're going to see social media apps that are going to have to pay for the fact that they bent a knee to Donald Trump. When Donald Trump is gone, then what? What the fuck do you do? You got a bunch of people. You don't have your little dancing monkey in Donald Trump to get you ratings. So what are you going to do? We're not coming back. Everybody's going to social media or going to independent media. Fuck MSNBC, CNN. I wanted to say this too. When we were talking about people going away from Donald Trump and talking shit about Donald Trump, we have to be careful of those people. I mean, it's a natural reaction. If somebody talks shit about Donald Trump, you must be our friend, and we'll redeem you. And you're a great guy. People like Michael Cohen, Scaramucci, all these people that have stepped away from Chris Christie, they may be talking against Donald Trump, but they aren't our friends in any sense of our imagination. They're still bad people. Michael Cohen was a piece of shit when he worked with Donald Trump. The shit he did, he should never be forgiven for. And just because he's like us and talking shit about Donald Trump, they're not our friends. And when Donald Trump goes down to wherever the fuck he goes, the people that talk against him, be careful of those people because you can't fucking trust them.
Yeah, I like the Lincoln Project. I like Rick Wilson and stuff. I like, what they say, but they're Republicans. They're, I think the one of the few people out there that, has disavowed the Republicans from being a Republican was Stu Stevens, who
Yeah,
wrote a book, and I've talked about it before, Everything Was a Lie. How, you have a lot of the people like Rick Wilson, the Lincoln Project, but, when Trump's gone, they're going to try to reform this party. You know,
absolutely.
they're not, they don't share, they share that we have a common enemy, but they don't share the same values. I mean, I know, and you could probably go, well, that's rich coming from a former Republican voter. I don't share the same values I had, 10, 15 years ago because it was a different party. I thought a little bit different. I don't think the way I do anymore. And a lot of it
Right.
is, my work, my experience and seeing what, people go through. And, Muhammad Ali said it best, if you're the same person at 50 you are at 30, your life has been, nothing. I mean, look at him. Look how, he was Cassius Clay. He talked more shit than everybody. We talked about Prince, how he was before, he got religion and, you can change on that, but you have a lot of the people that are really going after Trump that want that Republican Ronald Reagan, that they still glorify Ronald Reagan, the Joe Scarboroughs, the Rick Wilsons, and I like Rick Wilson. I've read a couple of his books and everything, but he doesn't speak for me. He doesn't have the same kind of, I don't know how he feels on pro-choice, but a lot of Republicans are not pro-choice. They believe it's, divine from God. I think it's a woman's right to choose. So, we got to be careful once this is all done. And like you said, be careful who you trust because, they might bite you in the ass.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like when Liz Cheney spoke out against Donald Trump, went on the J6 committee and stuff. Everybody loved Liz Cheney, and they said, well, maybe she should be the vice presidential candidate with Kamala Harris. No, no. She doesn't like Donald Trump because he's a fucking criminal. That's the very least we would expect out of a politician, whether they be Republican or Democrat.
Human
She's just
being.
seeing the obvious and reacting to it. But Liz Cheney doesn't represent anything a Democrat wants to vote for. So just because she sides with you on disliking somebody, she's still not your friend.
What about her being attorney general?
That I could see,
Because
because she's a mean bitch.
she'd go after
And
both sides.
yeah, I mean, I would certainly be happy to see her as Attorney General over and above Merrick Garland. There's another guy that needs to be taken to task. He's gone off into the obscurity and nobody's talking about him. He
Yeah,
is as much guilty for what we're in the middle of right now as anybody, and he
I
should
think,
be held accountable for it.
well, somebody said, I don't know if it's true or not, but he's a Federalist or part of the Federalist Society or something like that.
He is, and I'm sure Biden thought, well, it'll be a nice, even guy in there that will do the right thing. He'll deal with rule of law. Sorry to tell you, because of Merrick Garland, there is no more rule of law.
And I know a lot of people give Biden a bunch of shit, but the Merrick Garland thing, yeah, that was his biggest mistake, but I don't blame Biden for Merrick Garland because if we had, I mean, yeah, he appointed him and stuff like that, but he thought he could, and they figure they owed it to him for the Supreme Court thing. He probably would have been a better Supreme Court, but because he's, but Merrick Garland had a job and he didn't do it, and
Right.
Biden wasn't that kind of person to pressure, them doing stuff. That's what Trump does. That's what fascism does. That's what dictators do. So we can
But
blame
Biden,
Biden for appointing him, but we can't, it's on Garland. I mean, I'm sorry. He had a job to do and he didn't fucking do it.
it's on Garland. I don't blame Biden for appointing Garland. He seemed like a legitimate choice when he appointed him. I do hold Biden at fault for not firing him after a year
I
of
see
doing
that.
nothing.
I see that.
He didn't have to interfere with Merrick Garland. But if Merrick Garland wasn't doing the job, and he wasn't, they should have fired him and put somebody else in there. Because by not doing that, we are stuck where we are today. So I hold them kind of responsible for where we are.
Yeah, well, yeah, Jack Smith, I think, would have probably been a better, I think Jack Smith did as much as he could at the time he had. I mean, he had more time or whatever, but I mean, Garland probably held his hand or held him back
Yeah.
too.
Oh,
It's
Jack
yeah,
Smith would have been a choice. There could have been any number of people that could have been a good choice. Somebody like um, Klobuchar from the Senate. A lot of people think she
yeah.
would be a good attorney general. And I don't know. I mean, she's from my state. I like her. But there's any number of people that could. All Biden had to say is, we've got criminals. Fucking arrest the criminals, investigate the criminals, prosecute the criminals. And Merrick Garland just refused to do it because, well, we might seem political. But by worrying about looking too political, he ended up being fucking political. He fucked up
Trump
big.
and Trump gets his way, Garland may be on fucking trial next. I mean, although I think, Trump knowing, Trump ought to give Garland the fucking Nobel Peace Prize himself because they fucking know ain't nobody on the Democrat side did more for Trump than Merrick Garland.
Absolutely. I thought he should have been the choice for Donald Trump to be attorney general.
Yeah.
That would have made more
Yeah, he
fucking
he would
sense.
have, yeah. Just about as much, yeah. Yeah, so yeah,
But go ahead.
I mean I'm really surprised. And I guess maybe it's because they wanted the Senate, but I'm really surprised that Trump didn't pick Paxton to be his attorney general. Because I mean, you talk about an attorney general that is probably the most corrupt attorney general. I mean, that goes to Ken because, like I said earlier, there's an order from the court telling him that hold off on the Ten Commandments. You have people that are Christians not wanting this,
All right.
and he's telling them to ignore it. I mean, it's like, I mean, law and order, when is enough for these Republicans down here to just, hey, we can't do that. I mean, and Paxton's pretty, not very popular, but I think it's like Eric, talking about name recognition. Oh, Paxton's been there a while. We'll vote for him. He's not a Democrat or whatever. So I'm looking forward to these primaries for him and Cornyn because I want to see. I mean, especially if Trump's not in the picture anymore. That's what a little over a year. That's going to be interesting to see. I mean, how well somebody like Paxton will stand up, and if Cornyn will go back to his normal Republican ways with Trump gone.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully. I'm going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. I just want to make one announcement. Um, Jason and I sat down. We were talking about doing some kind of podcast that really doesn't involve politics at all. And I've told people the reason I want to do this is sometimes you need a fucking break from it all. Sometimes you just need to talk about fun or interesting stuff. So Jason and I recorded a podcast that we were talking a lot about music and that sort of thing. And it's an interesting show. It's going to be coming out Wednesday, not at the normal time, because you'll still have all the same podcast. I'm not replacing any podcast. I'm still doing the same things I did. This is an extra podcast. And if you feel so inclined, check it out. It'll come out Wednesday during the day, probably. And it'll be interesting to see how people relate to that. Now, this show has Jason and I on it, but we'll have other people coming on as well. If you're a listener and have some things you want to talk about, same kind of situation applies to that show as this show. So I just want you to be looking forward to it. We haven't really thought about what to call it. I suggested taking a break with Gen X Jace and Boomer 2 because that kind of ties in with my other TikTok account. Anyway, be looking for it. Listen to it. Tell us what you think. We'll put it this way. If you really like us, let us know. If you don't like it, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear it. Okay? Sounds fair enough.
Oh, Mike,
Anyway, Jay,
I'll be up
what's that?
close to you next week, and I'll be in the state of Ohio up there. So I'll be up around Detroit, around Michigan, and everything like that. I'm going to the Texas Ohio State game this Saturday. So
Well, that should be exciting. That should be fun.
hopefully,
Um, well, yeah, hopefully. Those Ohio State people are a little fucking crazy. Just
yeah,
trust me.
I'm
Being in
going
the
from
Big
one
Ten.
red state to the next. So at least I'll be in Michigan for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jace, thank you very much for those
For
of you
having me.
listening. Thanks for taking the time. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow a couple of times.